There's something about lake houses, the quiet, the distance from civilization. It feels peaceful, until it doesn't. These aren't just stories. These are disturbing true encounters from people who thought a weekend by the water would be relaxing. But instead, they left scarred, shaken, or didn't leave at all. Story 1. The locked door under the lake house. My friend Mason invited me to his family's lake house in Tennessee last summer. It was old, one of those cabins built in the 50s, but it had a dock, a canoe, and a massive basement that always smelled like the lake. The weirdest part? There was this trapdoor in the basement floor, sealed with a rusted padlock. His dad said it led to an old, storm drain access, but we weren't allowed to open it. At night, we'd hear banging beneath us. Like something hitting the floorboards from underneath. Mason thought it was just pipes. But on the third night, we stayed up late, playing cards, watching horror movies. Around 2:30 a.m., the banging started again. This time it wasn't random. It was rhythmic. Like knocking. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more. We went down to the basement with flashlights. That trapdoor? It was shaking. Mason swore he saw something move through the crack, like fingers, reaching. He freaked out, wanted to leave, but I was already trying to record it. I pointed my phone at the gap between the boards. When we got upstairs, my phone started glitching. Wouldn't play the video. Until the next morning. I checked again, and it played fine. But what I saw on the screen wasn't what I filmed. It was me. Sleeping. From inside the room. From the floor level. Like someone was watching me from underneath. That day, Mason's dad took a crowbar and nailed the trapdoor shut. Didn't say a word. Just nailed it over and over like he'd done it before. We never spoke about it again. But last month, Mason sent me a photo. A screenshot from his security cam. It was the lake house basement. And the trapdoor was wide open. Story 2. There's something living in the water. In 2020, my cousin Hannah and I stayed at her grandparents' lake house in Minnesota. It was remote, no neighbors, no Wi-Fi, and the only sounds at night were bugs, and the water lapping at the dock. On our second day, we went swimming around 5 p.m. The sun was low, and the water was cold. But the real problem? We weren't alone. I saw something just beneath the surface, something big, but slow-moving. I thought it was a log. Until it turned. And I swear. I saw an eye. It blinked, like it was watching me. I screamed for Hannah. She didn't believe me until the next day, when she saw it too. Around dusk, we heard splashing behind the dock. And then, a hand. Pale. Webbed. It gripped one of the wooden posts, then pulled away fast. We didn't go back in the water. But that night, we heard something scratching along the outside walls of the cabin. At 3:12 a.m., a soft knock came from the sliding glass door. We both froze. Because the deck lights were on, and there was nothing there. Until Hannah grabbed my arm and whispered, "Look at the water." Floating there, barely visible, was a head. Not human. Gray. Slippery. Black eyes, locked on us. We shut the curtains and didn't sleep. The next morning, we found footprints. Wet ones. Leading from the lake, to the door. We left a day early. But as we drove off, I looked in the rearview mirror. Something was standing on the dock. It waved. With the same pale, webbed hand. Story 3. The lights across the lake. Last summer, I rented a lake house in upstate New York with 2 of my friends, just a weekend getaway. It was peaceful, no boats, no neighbors in sight, except one house directly across the lake. It looked abandoned. Shutters half open. Dock rotted out. No signs of life. But on the second night, we saw a light flick on inside that house. Just one window, upstairs. It flickered, then went dark. We assumed it was nothing. Maybe someone fixing the place up. But that night, around 2:30 a.m., my friend Liam woke us up. He was panicking. He said he saw someone standing at the edge of the lake, on our side. Facing our house. We looked, but nothing was there. Until we noticed something strange. The light in the abandoned house turned on again. But this time, it was the downstairs light. And this time, it stayed on. We shut the blinds and tried to sleep, but none of us could. Around 4 a.m., we heard this, humming. Like a woman humming a lullaby. It was coming from outside. By the lake. I quietly opened the blinds. There was a figure on the dock across the lake. Not standing. Just sitting. Rocking slowly. The light behind them flickered. But what really got me? The figure raised a flashlight, and pointed it directly at our house. I shut the blinds. The next morning, we decided to pack up early. But before we left, I looked through my phone. There were 24 pictures I didn't take. They were all of us, sleeping. From outside the cabin. Through the window. But in the last one, there was a face reflected in the glass. It wasn't any of us. If you ever rent a lake house, and things feel off, trust your gut. Some places don't want visitors. And some things follow you home. Like and subscribe, before the next knock on your door comes from the lake.